Today I'm going to walk you through how I did my Wentworth Miller Captain Cold costume. I did a female version of the character portrayed by Wentworth Miller in the Flash TV show. It's a really good costume to start with in the beginning because it's mostly just buying stuff and assembling it, not so much making. You can do it for really cheap or more expensive. I went a little more expensive and I probably shouldn't have, but here's what it is.
Here are a few photos of the finished costume to show you the final result. I'll try to include links in the description of everything I bought so that you can purchase those things yourself if you want to try and make this costume.
Really all you need is a parka, this big blue parka. So I bought one off of Amazon. I'll put the link and a photo of it in the video.
Okay, this isn't the parka that I used, but it is the actual parka that they used in the show for Wentworth Miller. It's a Canada Goose parka. It's $1,000, so obviously I didn't get that one. I just put it up here so you guys could take a look at it and see what the accurate screen-used parka looks like and base it off of that. This is the one I actually used. I got it off Amazon. It's from a company called Wantdo, I think. You can get it on Amazon, or their actual website still has it. I think it was about $90 plus shipping, and that's Canadian, not US. I think it's only like $60 or $70 US, so you know, lucky you guys.
Black motorcycle jeans. He has like actual official motorcycle jeans in the show. I just got some moto skinny jeans off of Amazon. There was holes in the knees, so I just patched them, and that was that.
These are the jeans they used on Wentworth Miller from the show. They're a couple $100s, I think, and I don't think they're even made anymore, so they were definitely not an option. Any kind of motorcycle jean or any kind of jean with like this kind of detailing around the knees would really work, because that's really just what gives it the motorcycle look. Although honestly, you could probably just use a pair of black jeans. Most people aren't going to pay enough attention to realize that it's a motorcycle jean he wears. You could just wear black jeans, it'd be fine.
Took a little more effort for the shirt. What the actual character wears in the show is a military shirt with like the patches on the shoulders and stuff. There's an official term for the shirt. I can't remember what it is right now, but they don't make them for women, or at least not in women's sizes, so I got the smallest one I could find on Amazon and flipped it inside out, and I just took it in. So I flipped it inside out, got my mom to help me with this because it helps to have a other set of hands to help you, and we just pinned in around the sleeves because I have very tiny skinny arms and it looked like 80 shoulder pads on me. So pinned in around the sleeves to make it smaller, took the shoulders in some, and then all along the torso and kind of along the torso a little bit down into here, because it was very baggy on me up in this area. Luckily, it's a relatively shapeless shirt, so you don't have to do that if you are a bigger person than I am. I'm just incredibly tiny, so I did that. It turned out pretty good, quite like it. But any black long sleeve sweater shirt would do. If you want the ribbing for that extra texture, you can get one of those from most stores for like $20. I just kind of liked the official look of it.
So here's Wentworth Miller without the parka on, and here is the shirt I bought. Like I said, very easy to take in, helps to have an extra set of hands. One thing to note though, because it's like a wool fabric, it unravels pretty easy, so do multiple stitches and then do a zigzag over top to keep it from unraveling.
Then for the holster, he has a much fancier holster in the show, but I didn't want to spend the $80 on each piece from the official one, so I got a $20 gun holster from Spirit Halloween, and I just adapted it to fit me because it was for guys, so again I shortened the waist.
I noticed after I filmed this that most of the holster was actually out of frame, so I've included some clips from the building process to show you guys what it was. It's pretty basic. It clips around my waist and around my thigh with a strap between the two to connect them with a buckle there, and there's a piece of fabric that rests on the thigh that the cold gun will sit on. Initially when I bought it, it had like a pouch in there to set a toy gun, but that wouldn't fit the cold gun, so I just took that off and got rid of it. And I just took a strap of webbing, made a loop, added a buckle, and then sewed the loop down to the fabric. The loop, I sized it to fit the cold gun, so I can just slide the cold gun right in. A little further in, I mention a forum. It's super helpful, I'll explain it then, but on there they had information about the accurate holster used in the show, so I've posted those photos up here in case you want to take a look and make yours a little more accurate. It does get pricey, but I've also included some photos of Wentworth Miller where you can kind of see the holster. Near as I can tell, there's nothing else visible holding the gun to the holster. I'm guessing that they probably hid a magnet on the inside of the gun or something to keep it attached to the metal part on his holster, just for safety of the prop and whatnot. But it actually fit pretty well in mine. It was pretty secure so long as I didn't do anything crazy. I think I probably could walk around a con with it in there and have it not fall out. I usually do keep my hand on the handle just to be on the safe side. You could always glue a magnet on the outside of the gun and then put a matching magnet on the inside of one of the straps to keep it there for a little bit of extra security. I may actually go ahead and do that. I actually did find one screenshot of the gun from the show, I believe from Legends of Tomorrow, where it looks like there is a magnet on the outside. It's the only time I've ever found a screenshot of it like that.
So I found this forum where people are talking about their Captain Cold costumes, and it was super helpful. Lots of resources on there. I'll link to that in the description. On there they listed the official goggles that they used in the show. They're a set of goggles from this company called Bobster. I'll put a link to the Amazon in the description. And basically what you just do is you paint them blue. You don't even have to do this because it's a dark blue. You don't necessarily notice unless you actually look at it. I found a photo of some like actual screen accurate goggles that Wentworth Miller wore in the show that were being auctioned off, and I realized that it was a midnighty blue, so I just painted that blue.
It's actually more of a slate blue than a midnight, but I like the look of the midnight sapphire better, so. Fun fact, Wentworth Miller used to say that these things fogged terribly, and he was not kidding. These were a huge pain during my photo shoot. They fog immediately, so fair warning.
On the side he has little decorative silver pieces that just make it look a lot more sci-fi. So I made these out of what I did was I modeled the initial thing out of modeling magic and then made a pattern off of that so that I could make them out of foam, make them nice and light. It's pretty simple. I just made the pattern out of tape. I covered it in tape and then cut off the pieces. There's little decorative bits right here. I just painted on a couple of layers and then made these out of EVA foam and just cut them.
Again, that was barely in frame, so I'll include here some photos from when I was making them. I just kind of lightly scored them with my knife by just kind of pressing it down on there just to give those little cut marks.
The lenses were the tricky part because his lenses are tinted blue. So what I did, I got this idea from that forum I was talking about. You just get some auto tinting film, like the type that they use to tint headlights and stuff off of Amazon. Make sure to get the ones for auto tinting. I just got ones for window tinting and it did not work initially, and I ended up ruining my lenses and had to get a second pair. So make sure you get the ones that are meant for headlights because they bend properly. And what you do, actually I have the old set here, I will show you. What you do, it's caught in my window. What you do is you can pop it apart like this. So this part attaches to the back here, like on my official ones. It's screwed on with a couple little screws, so just get a very tiny screwdriver, and underneath here in the little foam parts, you just peel it back and you can use the screwdriver to pull out the screws. If I think that's in frame. If it's not in frame, I'll put pictures on the video. Pull out the screws so that you can pop this apart, and then you just pop out the lenses. Do it carefully, of course, so you don't break them. And then you can just use some water and a scraper and the auto tinting film to just peel it over and tint it down. Don't use too much heat, because lots of them need heat. Don't use too much, you'll end up warping and cracking the lens, which is what I did there. That's why I ended up needing to order new ones. So don't make the mistake I did. On the strap for the lenses, for the goggles, they have the Bobster logo. You can just either ignore that or cover color it to cover it so it's not as visible, or you can get the stuff, I believe it's called Goof Off, and you just rub at it with a cloth. Don't stretch it, because if you stretch it, it'll, while you're doing it, when it dries, it won't have its elasticity anymore. It'll stay stretched out. So just keep it flat and just rub at it with a cloth and that Goof Off until it comes off, and it'll come right off. You can't see any of it on mine anymore. Just make sure not to stretch it, or it'll stay stretched and it won't come back. So that's the goggles. A little bit of a learning curve, but actually not too terribly hard to do. The gloves, I just got these touchscreen gloves off of Amazon. They're Wells Will Not Work gloves. I think you can get them at Walmart's in the United States. They didn't have them at the Walmart here. I just got mine off Amazon. They weren't terribly expensive. They've got these little white stitchings that Wentworth Miller's didn't have, so I just colored all those in with Sharpie, made them go away. They've got the little covered bits on the tips of the fingers that his had. Again, I'm really tiny, so even getting the smallest size, these were way too big for me because they're men's gloves. So I flipped it inside out, pinned it tighter, and sewed it up. Fits me pretty good. Again, you can just find ladies' gloves if you're a woman that fits you better. I wanted accuracy, so I got these ones. Not necessary. And if you have bigger hands than me, you won't have to worry about it. And of course, the biggest and most important part, the gun. I got mine 3D printed from a seller on Etsy. He just sells raw 3D prints. It came cut in half. It doesn't light up or anything. You can get the LED ones that light up. They look awesome, but they are much more expensive, and I don't really know anything about wiring. I'm going to attempt that when I make the gold gun. We'll see how that goes. So yeah, this came cut in half. I just sanded it down. There's lots of tutorials on how to sand for 3D printing. I just found some on YouTube and followed those. I googled it and found a couple things. You start at like the lowest grit, so like a 60 grit sandpaper, and work it over, get rid of the roughness, and keep going up to higher, smoother grits until it's finally all smooth. Glue it together. Use filler primer to fill any imperfections and things. Lots of Bondo worked really well to cover the seams. Like, you can't tell where I glued it together. And there was a seam right down the middle here. And you can't really tell because I used the Bondo to cover it and sanded it down, and then I primed it with filler primer. I followed the painting tutorial from, I believe it was Punished Prompts. I'll link to that. And there's a weathering tutorial and stuff. It was really cool. I like how it turned out. It was my first time weathering something, but the tutorial was really easy to follow. How to do a dark wash and then add like metal scuffing. Like in here, you can kind of see I put on the edges and stuff silver paint to make it look scuffed. All what he said to do in the tutorial. So I'll link the tutorial. And then just painted a little strip of blue where the LEDs would go if I had LEDs. This was, I think, about $175 Canadian, I think, with shipping. I could be wrong on that. I'll link to the seller in the description, but I really love it. It turned out really good. It's so much fun to point around, and it was lots of fun. It's maybe a bit small compared to the one he had, but I have really tiny hands, so honestly that works really well for me. For anybody bigger than me, it might be a little bit small, but I mean the quality is really good and I think it's really worth it. So yeah, I really like it.
Here's a few in-progress photos of the gun. Fair warning, it does take quite a while to sand down those little layer lines and things if you're doing it by hand, which with the amount of grooves and things on this gun, you kind of have to. I recommend getting a set of needle files and stuff to get in those little places. I didn't have any, and it took forever, and I accidentally sanded off my own fingernails doing it. So, yeah, get needle files. Yeah, it does take a long time. I was stuck on self-isolation after being exposed to you-know-what, so I just kind of knocked it out, but most people don't have 12 straight days of time for that, so expect it to take you a little while to get done.
And then the last piece of the costume is the boots. They're upstairs and I don't want to run and get them. He has these tactical combat boots. He wears 2 different sets in the show, and you can get the actual ones, but they're very expensive is the thing. They're in the hundreds of dollars range, so I got some tactical combat boots off of Amazon. They're still expensive. I think they were only $80. I wasn't really willing to go above that. You could honestly just get black, regular fashion combat boots. They would work just as well.
At this point, I remembered that I had completely forgotten about the wig and ran off to get that. These are the accurate boots they had on him in the show. So, I believe these prices are American, so in Canadian they are extra expensive. I just didn't want to pay that much, like I said.
The wig I got off of Amazon. This is where the biggest difference comes in with doing a female Captain Cold as opposed to a male. Is I wanted to give the character long hair because I like long hair. You honestly don't even necessarily need a wig because we barely, like, the actor Wentworth Miller has his head shaved. You can barely tell what color hair he has in the show anyway. I just, again, thought it would be cool. It was a stylistic choice. So I got a platinum wig off, oh, this thing did not store well. I got a platinum wig off of Amazon, and I just used root cover powder here on the roots to make it that silver color, because he kind of has like that salt and pepper, black and silver hair. I think they added like silver spray to his hair for the show. So I just used root cover powder to make the roots dark, and then I styled it into a ponytail in the back. Looks really cool, not actually the most practical for a photo shoot. It kept getting tangled in the goggles. Yeah, this was a relatively cheap lace front wig off of Amazon. Worked out pretty well. Yeah, I'm not the best at styling wigs. This was my first attempt, so maybe I'll revisit that one day and fix it up a bit. Yeah, I'll put a link to that wig in the description. It was a good wig. That is everything for the costume. Yeah, it's honestly, it's an easy costume to make because it's mostly buying things and adapting them if you need to make them fit you. You probably don't even need to do that. You could just get a $20 shirt from Ardene's or Walmart and a cheap blue Parka off of Amazon. There's much cheaper ones. This one was like $90, I think, or $100. You can get much cheaper ones. I just wanted one that looked a little fancy. It doesn't have to be an expensive costume. I made it a little more expensive, but that was just my choice. You can do this pretty cheaply. You don't need to get a screen accurate cold gun. Lots of people get Nerf guns and just adapt them, paint them silver, and make them look fancy and comic booky. I wanted it to be accurate, so I spent more money. It's really up to how much you're willing to spend. Yeah, it's an easy, fun costume. So yeah, that was how I did my Captain Cold.